Cage Warriors returned to action last night at a sparsely populated Echo Arena in Liverpool. Although those in attendance were giving their full support and backing to the hometown fighters, you can't help but think that Anthony Joshua's heavyweight title defense in Cardiff may have had an impact on ticket sales for what was a highly entertaining card and very successful night for the Next Generation team. Prelims. In the opening prelim of the night, Australian Jack Della improved his record to 42 with a second-round submission victory over James Duckett, his fourth consecutive win. With numerous submissions attempted throughout the opening round, Della finally stuck in a decisive rear naked choke towards the end of the second. In what was quite possibly the standout fight of the prelims, Jack Grant made an impressive Cage Warriors debut with a savage first-round KO of Perry Goodwin. Striking Goodwin with 3 heavy knees midway through the opening round, Grant was composed throughout and moved on to 134 with this eye-catching performance. In the final fight of the prelims, Paul McBain beat Sam Spencer with a TKO at the end of the first round. Deemed unfit to proceed due to doctor's advice, Spencer ducked into a solid right hand from McBain, which appeared to be the night-ending blow from the Scotsman. Although by no means totally out of the fight, Spencer was clearly in no fit state to continue due to a heavily swollen right eye socket. With fighter safety paramount, there really couldn't be any over-decision as to the outcome of this featherweight clash. Main card: Molly McCann 51 v Priscilla de Souza 127. Hometown favorite Molly McCann got the main card underway with a unanimous victory over the tough Brazilian, Priscilla de Souza. With de Souza charging in straight from the off, McCann landed with some early strikes against an opponent where no love was lost. Following a confrontation at the weigh-ins, both fighters got straight down to business in a high-octane first round. McCann finished the round strong with a series of short elbows and a flying knee whilst in the clinch. In the second and third rounds, the fast-paced first round seemed to take its toll on both fighters, but it was McCann who continued to unload with a series of combinations. The experienced de Souza was visibly exhausted and grimacing towards the end of the second as McCann continued her pursuit for victory. Despite the seemingly bad blood before the fight, both fighters touched gloves and hugged it out before the start of the final round. Continuously warned about her outstretched fingers throughout, de Souza was lucky to not receive the point deduction, although it wouldn't have made much difference to the outcome as McCann came out with the unanimous victory, much to the delight of those in attendance. Martin Stapleton 195 v Soren Bak 81. Next up, it was an interesting lightweight bout between former Marine Martin Stapleton and the self-proclaimed true Viking that is Soren Bak. Making his entrance with his trademark pelt and axe, Bak would prove too strong an opponent for the veteran Stapleton. Claiming that, "I will 100% finish that man," before the fight, Stapleton endured a tough night as Bak, who has a strong wrestling background, rode out a deep-set body triangle for a large chunk of the fight. At 351 of the first round, Stapleton tapped out when Bak transitioned into a rear naked choke and finished the fight in what was a solid performance from the Dane. Lee Chadwick 2313 v Victor Cheng 112. The vacant Cage Warriors middleweight title was on the line in what transpired into uncharted territory for both Lee Chadwick and Victor Cheng. With both fighters going the 5-round distance for the first time on their careers, both were seemingly finding each other out in the early exchanges. Chadwick, the visibly larger set of the two, has explosive power behind his punches, but didn't want to unload and strike himself out too early, with Cheng probably coming out on top in the early rounds. The heavy-hitting Chadwick was starting to throw more in the second, but a series of continuous leg kicks in the early round appeared to be taking their toll on the highly experienced Chadwick. Early in the third, and on a few occasions, Cheng landed with a straight right which had Chadwick take note, but a massive standing guillotine attempt by Chadwick late in the third could have very easily seen this fight finished. Lifting Cheng off the ground on a couple of occasions, Cheng survived what looked like a deep choke. Chadwick seemed spent at the end of the round but showed heart and composure as both fighters entered the championship rounds. Chadwick gained a second wind as he chipped away at Cheng, who was subtly starting to fade away in the fourth. After an exhausting exchange, both fighters came out swinging from the off in the final round, but it was Chadwick who took the decision with a unanimous victory to become the new Cage Warriors middleweight champion. Chris Fishgold 1611 v Alexander Jacobson 81. Chris Fishgold defended his Cage Warriors lightweight title for the third time to become the first fighter in the modern era to do so. After successful defenses against Jason Panay and Nick Aaron Webb, Fishgold saw off Alexander Jacobson with a striking and submission masterclass. Exerting pressure straight from the off, Fishgold was landing with some big shots against an opponent with a strong striking background. Jacobson showed a level of durability early on when receiving a cut below the left eye. With superb defense, Fishgold turned his excellent striking attack into a lethal ground game that had the fight finished as soon as both fighters hit the canvas. No sooner had the fight been taken to the ground, Fishgold sunk in the rear naked choke to claim his third title defense and cement his name in Cage Warriors history. After the fight, Fishgold announced that he will be stepping down to featherweight. Setting his attentions on champion Nad Narimani, Fishgold wants to avenge the defeat of teammate Paddy Pimblett in what would be an exceptional fight. Main card results: Chris Fishgold vs. Alexander Jacobson lightweight title. Fishgold wins 415 round 1 submission. RNC Lee Chadwick vs. Victor Chang middleweight title. Chadwick wins via unanimous decision. Martin Stapleton vs. Soren Bak lightweight. Bak wins 351 round 1 submission. RNC Molly McCann vs. Priscilla D'Souza flyweight. McCann wins via unanimous decision. Prelim results: James Duckett vs. Jack Della welterweight. Della wins 344 round 2 submission. RNC Mick Stanton vs. Josh McManus welterweight. Stanton wins via unanimous decision. Jack Grant vs. Perry Goodwin lightweight. Grant wins 317 round 1 co-knees. Sam Spencer 51 vs. Paul McBain 30 featherweight. McBain wins 500 round 1 TKO stopped on doctor's advice.